There are things you say in anger that you wish you could reel back the very second they leave your lips. Words that don't just sting in the moment, but settle into the quiet afterward, echoing long after the argument fades. I learned that truth the worst possible way, with the man who once looked at me as if I were the center of his universe. Christopher was never flashy or loud. He wasn't the one telling stories in a crowd or showing off just to be seen. He was grounded, calm. A man who believed that real love was shown through reliability rather than big, dramatic gestures. He put in long days, came home weary, yet still had enough left in him to fix the dripping faucet or sit beside our daughter as she finished her homework. But somehow, I stopped seeing all of that as something precious. I started comparing him to other men. Men who seemed bolder, more charismatic, more everything. And irritated with my own unmet expectations, I began poking at the one place I knew he felt insecure. It happened one night during an argument that began over something trivial. Dirty dishes, I think. Voices rose, irritation built, and then I said it. Cold, cutting, meant to go straight to the bone. No wonder you're so quiet. You're not even half the man you think you are. The words tumbled out before my mind could catch up. But the moment they hung in the air, I saw something shift in his gaze. A small dimming like a light going out. He didn't shout back. He didn't storm off or throw my insult at me in return. He just stopped. His face went blank. His posture hardened, and he walked out of the room without a single word. At the time, I brushed it off. People argue. People say terrible things they don't actually mean. He'd moved past it, he always did. But I hadn't merely bruised his pride that night. I had cracked something much deeper. From that moment on, Christopher's eyes never held me the same way again. The silence between us became heavier than any shouting match we'd ever had. Before, even in our worst fights, there had still been fire, anger, frustration, yes, but passion too. Now there was only distance. Cold, careful distance that wrapped around him like armor. He still showed up for life, went to work, paid the bills, did every single thing a husband and father is expected to do. But around me, he moved like a man maneuvering through rubble, cautious, detached, offering only the bare minimum. He listened when I talked, but the warmth was gone. His laugh, the easy laugh I used to draw out of him with the smallest joke, disappeared. And those eyes of his, the ones that once sparkled with affection even on his exhausted days, now they were shuttered, guarded. When they landed on me, it felt like he was looking at someone he no longer recognized. At first, I ignored it. I thought time would mend what I'd broken. I cooked his favorite dishes, bought a new dress, even planned a small getaway for just the two of us. He thanked me. He smiled. But it was the polite, distant smile you'd offer a coworker, not the woman you once held as your whole world. And the farther he drifted, the more frantic I became. I apologized again and again, sometimes whispering it into the darkness at night, hoping he'd roll toward me and say it was all right. But he never did. He just lay there, rigid, staring at the ceiling until sleep claimed him. That's when I understood the cruelest part of what I'd done. I hadn't insulted him in a moment of anger. I had sliced into the quiet pride he carried as a husband and father, into the man he believed he was for our family. And once that was torn apart, once I made him feel small in the eyes of the woman he trusted most, nothing I did afterward could undo it. Our house became two separate worlds under a single roof. We shared meals, shared a bed, shared responsibilities, yet lived oceans apart. The gap between us grew heavier with every passing day. I noticed it in the smallest details, how he no longer reached for my hand crossing the street, how he no longer dipped his head to kiss my forehead before leaving for work, how his phone became his comfort each night instead of our conversations. I tried everything. One evening, I broke down at the dinner table, tears streaming, begging him to talk to me, to help me repair the thing I'd shattered. He looked at me for a long moment, fork still in his hand, and finally said, "Some things don't get fixed, Sarah. Some things break, and they stay broken." Those words crushed me more thoroughly than any fight ever had. I realized then that the man who once adored me was building walls I could no longer reach over. My cruelty had planted doubt in his heart, and instead of healing, that doubt had grown into an entire forest of silence and indifference. He didn't rage. He didn't accuse. He simply stopped letting me in. Nights became unbearable. I would lie there, staring at the outline of him beside me. So close, yet unreachable. Sometimes I wanted to shake him, scream, force him to look at me. Other times, shame pinned me still, knowing I had stripped him of the safety he once felt being loved by me. To the outside world, we looked perfectly fine. Christopher laughed at family gatherings, chatted with friends, played with our daughter. But I knew those practiced expressions hid a man who no longer belonged to me. And the irony burns. I mocked him once, thinking it was harmless, thinking I'd won some petty argument. But words aren't harmless. They sink in, they decay. They carve wounds too deep to see but impossible to forget. Now, every time he glances at me with those distant eyes, I feel the man I loved slipping farther and farther away. And I can't help wondering if one day, When the silence finally outweighs whatever is left, he'll walk out the door, and this time he won't come back.